y'all. Hey, y'all. Hey, y'all. It is Wednesday. It is the 6th of November. It feels like I haven't seen you guys all month. I don't think I really have seen you guys all month. But it's for a reason. So we'll talk all about that in just a second. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but there was this election last night. There was a thing. Some people did a thing. Some people went out and voted, and it shows because Trump is your president-elect yet again, as he should be. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. I think this is fantastic. Now, I want to talk a couple of numbers with you really quick on this, specifically the presidential race, and we're going to have a whole bunch of people on. I'm hoping today. That was the call to arms, so that should be the case. So I want to show you guys, and I want to make sure I have the right years before. Okay, this one's 2020. Okay, we have are you ready? You better be, because you're coming whether you like it or not. What are you doing, buddy? You're muted.
I'm just sitting back, reeling with a feeling, because old Kamala's people are squealing. This was worse than Deliverance from 1971. Holy crap!
Wow, you really pulled back a couple years there, didn't you?
Well, I mean, it's kind of like having Tim Walz on a canoe trip, if you ask me. So there you go.
Ouch, I don't know if that's something I'd want to go forward with.
No, at least Burt Reynolds came out the victor in it all before he died, anyway. Anyway, but no. Hey, listen, and I just got through talking with a couple SRECs. I've not talked to my partner Kelly yet. I can honestly say I know what her opinion is going to be. It's going to be, yeah. You know what made it for me whenever all the voters came out in full force. Do you want to know what demographic of voters did not show up this time that
Tell
just
me.
bailed out on us?
Tell me.
The cemetery voters.
The cemetery voters. Well, it's funny. So the last cycle, or the last presidential election race compared to this one, I want to put these numbers. I won't be able to do it side by side, but I'll be able to show you directly from the Secretary of State. So this one right here should be 2020. Okay, so this is 2020's. Total, there was 11,315,056. Okay, presidential voters total. This cycle, there was 11,318,494. That's a voter difference of 3,438. Now, this is where it's painful, Walt. Do you know what that means? Across the entire state of Texas, we only got 3,438 new voters to come to the polls. And I say new because they didn't vote in 2020.
Okay, hang on a second.
Eating on the show. Shameful. Go on.
Hey,
I almost died trying to eat before the show, just so we're clear. And I may not be out of the woods yet.
Well, you've also got to keep your girlish figure,
yes,
the stereotype, all that stuff. Me, hey, I'm just a pig. Well, I mean, they call me the Bacon Master, right? So there we go.
I literally tried to kill myself right before the show, just so we're all clear on this, on accident. I assure you all. So,
hey, Jack, come bail me out of this one.
We know why.
Right. Jack. So Sandra threw out a factoid that there's only 3,000 new voters and whatnot, and I'm kind of wanting to say, hey, how vetted? So she's right on her information, but I did get to talk to Jack this morning, Sandra, and you know what? He did it for Peanut and Fred.
That's it. You heard a win one for the Gipper. Well, it's a fact. You go kill somebody's pet squirrel and raccoon, and we will elect Donald Trump.
That is, you know what? History has proven that correct today, Jack.
But no. I haven't had time to really dig into it, but I want you to notice.
Hold on, Simon. Trump did not just win Starr County. Trump also won Webb County.
So how did Maverick County, Valverde County do?
I can give you those numbers in 8 seconds.
I remember there was only like one or two It looked like only 1 or 2 border counties were blue. But then again, it wasn't zoomed in. So
you said, well, let's start with Maverick.
But here's the deal.
Maverick also went for Trump.
Val Verde, Brewster.
Hold on, Mr. West.
Safe to say every metropolis county lost.
Val Verde also went overwhelmingly for Trump.
So Terrell County went Trump. How about Brewster County?
Brewster County went for Trump.
What about Presidio County?
Nope, that one did not go for Trump.
That's okay. They don't have a Republican Party there either. So, and that's not even my SD. So, anyway, but I do show up there, and I rub elbows with Democrats, and they don't talk about Biden. They don't talk about Trump. I mean, Biden was the one running whenever I was there, so they talked about things that mattered. And so there is a county that is winnable if you take all of the party BS out of it. What about Webb? So Webb County, did they not go over?
No, I said Webb County went over. They did. There's only okay. I want y'all to see this. Hold on. I want y'all to see this. This is the Texas Secretary of State's website because it's not official unless it's there. All right. Let's see. We have El Paso County. They stayed blue. Hudspeth County. I'm only doing directly on the border. Hudspeth County. They're red. So we only got 1 blue so far. Presidio, 2 blues. Brewster's red. Terrell's red. Val Verde is red. Kinney is red. Maverick is red. Webb is red. Zapata is red. Star is red. Hidalgo is red. And Cameron is also red. There's only 2 counties along the Texas-Mexico border that did not flip for Donald Trump.
Which are?
Presidio and El Paso.
Okay. So here's the key. So y'all know that Adam Hinojosa won his race in 27, right? So we have now taken the Valley in the Texas Senate. This was former Eddie Lucio's seat because I don't want to put it and make it any sanitary clearance for Morgan LaMantia, but Adam Hinojosa did not get the support last time that he finally got this time. He's a former cop. Matter of fact, I met him when Democrats called me. Democrats from your county, Sandra, called me and said, "Hey, how do we get him going?" And then it was at that time the SREC was in another disarray. It was under the old was that Allen or was that Matt Rinaldi? Either way. So either way, they finally did it. The SRECs down there are coming together. They're moving on some things, which is cool. But the state party the state party and Project Red Texas really had nothing to do with any of this.
No, they did not. I didn't even think they were useful in anything. How many races did they win?
Well, all I know is they helped ProPublica come out and spin their left-wing stuff in Val Verde County against the sheriff. For the sheriff, and those receipts we could have had the involvement with those candidates been better than what they were.
Now, I've got a TFL breaking news story.
No.
Okay.
It involves here's the deal. In the 2020 election, Trump got a total of 74 million votes to Biden's 81 million votes, right? in this election, okay, so he got 74 million. He only got 71 million this time. Trump did. But apparently 15 million Democrat voters apparently slept through the 3 a.m. mark and didn't show up because, Biden got 81 million votes and Kamala's only got 66 million. Great googly moogly. Have there been an abduction of 15 million Democrat voters?
There were, like I said, the cemetery voters didn't come out and vote this time.
That is amazing. Trump literally got 3 million votes less than he did in 2020. But Kamala did not benefit from 15 million posthumous voters.
Have you ever seen the movie Coco? They have their own form of integration for the dead. Day of the Dead was, of course, in between.
Sandra,
and they did their job and held them back.
You keep your Disney propaganda out of this, P. Diddy of Texas Fully Loaded.
Yeah, an entire, culture's heritage is not a Disney thing.
Yeah.
You want to talk about those presumed voters, gentlemen?
But folks, what's going on here? 15 million less Democrat votes.
I really expected to see a much higher voter turnout even here in Texas on the presidential race. And like I said, the numbers that I gave, they weren't Donald Trump, Joe Biden. They were all, because there's always those, libertarians or write-ins or whatever that's on the ballot. So I did the full number. We only had an additional 3,438 voters here in Texas for the presidential race.
Interesting.
Isn't that something?
My total vote count was pretty much the same as it was in 2016, but Trump got 1,000 more votes than he did in 2016.
Wait a minute, give me that one more time.
So in my county,
in your county, okay.
The number of voters in 20 versus 2016 stayed the same, about 23,000. But Trump went from a 15,000 to 16,000. So he got 1,000 additional voters than he did in 2016.
Last night, I was watching NBC because I tell you guys all the time, I like to see what they're saying. I was keeping tabs on everybody else, but all the other different channels. But one of the things that they kept saying over and over and over again last night was how much this was just like 2016.
Yes. It had those vibes.
Yeah.
Except the y'all can just go home, we'll come back tomorrow thing. I'm glad she did it much earlier.
Here is kind of my thought, and maybe I'll be wrong, and I'll own it if I am wrong. But how much is it that they've really started seeing this voter? I mean, I think enough Republicans and honest Democrats, and that's a real word, have said, listen, we know that there's been problems in our elections. The Democrats have been screaming it, the Republicans have been screaming it, and I think the people that were at the county levels nationwide were saying there is too much heat for us to fart around and find out.
Well, no, and so I talked to Tony Trevino earlier. She's the SREC and the Starr County chairwoman, and her thing is exactly what she had to say. Everyone is depending upon these mailers, digital marketing, the text messages and stuff. You don't want to see the stuff, the crap I've been sending back to to these text messages from my friends and whatnot. I literally have got oh my gosh. So I just had to make sure that's who it was. Because the red star didn't give it away. But anyway,
right?
But no. So Tony and I were talking, and it was like, hey guys, our good candidates, our great Republican candidates that lost did not knock on enough doors. They did not do enough eyeball time. They did not do enough FaceTime. And when I say FaceTime, I mean this right here in person. That did not happen. There was complaining. There was stuff going on. They relied on the signage and the digital marketing. The border changed up ballot because they are tired of the BS. However, and y'all know, y'all have heard my story. I sat with the former gay mayor of Del Rio, Bruno Lozano, and how he actually stood up for Texas against the Biden administration, and then he didn't run again. And then they put a guy that everyone decided, including Republicans, they went and voted for the gay mayor because they were tired of the guy that was in there, which is the same guy that Project Red Texas decided, hey, we need to endorse this guy a second time, throw bukus of money at him a second time against. And whenever you talk about Eddie Morales, he's the 93rd conservative ranked House member in the state house. Okay, we have 85 Republicans. I don't know how many we gained. He barely won by 50.8% this morning, but because it came in about 12 o'clock. But at the same time, he's helped to fund OLS. He is trying to get the water. Even the Texan reports that he's contrary to most Democrats because he speaks with the people. And we have people like Sheriff Fuentes and then Sheriff Schmerber. Okay, not Schmerber, but Fuentes for sure, whose kid was a part of the Panama Squad. So the cops that were dealing dope back in the early teens, I mean, we're talking, we've got cops that were running as Republicans, and Fuentes is not, he's a Democrat, but Fuentes won because the party did not help. That one candidate decided, hey, I'm not, and that's Alberto Olivares. I just feel bad. He did not get the support or the training he needed. He is a great guy. He is exactly what they needed down there. Former Border Patrol agent. He's a wonderful man, but he couldn't change the narrative in that county that went for Trump this time. That actually physically went for Trump this time. Went for Cruz. Cruz won in counties he's never been in. This is opposite of the Beto effect. As a matter of fact, Colin already. So, I'm gonna be the first to say it. Donald Trump is who carried Cruz across, because I can't tell you how many complaints I got from the Cruz campaign, and I've to this day right now I still haven't gotten my return phone call I was supposed to get, even though we've spent into thousands of dollars for old Teddy Boy.
Now it's funny that you said exactly what you said. So Ted Cruz actually did win Star and Zapata, which was shocking for both of those. He did not pick up Webb, and I was hoping to be able to draw what the narrative that we all know is that old Ted Boy, he crapped all over the people down here. Webb County, remember that they got crapped on by him. But I'm happy to see that Trump carried the Texas-Mexico border. We want to welcome John Spires on while Walter's taking a breath. So, hey, John, what's up?
It's good to see you guys. We're all a little bit sleepy, a little bit bleary-eyed, but darn, we're happy.
No,
happy.
I stayed up for the victory speech, and I don't know, 1:30, something like that. And I woke up at 3:30 a.m. in a complete panic. And I turned the TV on, and I went through all the channels just to double check and make sure there wasn't a flippy-do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We were all waiting for that midnight ballot dump that would suddenly appear. I remember when last night they said that Minnesota was taking a break in counting. Why? Because that's what they do. And I thought, here we go again. But the turnout was impressive. The excitement that you felt all night was great. I personally enjoyed watching the New York Times ballot meter as it kept inexorably swinging further and further towards Donald Trump, whereas, 95% chance he's going to win. And I wish I'd been a fly on the wall in the green room at MSNBC to just watch the meltdown. In fact, if someone could make a mashup of all the meltdowns and set it to YMCA, that would just be absolutely fantastic. I could watch that for hours. I'd pay good money for
So,
that.
No kidding.
so I think for the inauguration, like I literally want to see the lady from 2016 come back.
Oh yeah.
2017 with the
Actually,
toboggan on or whatever.
Oh yeah.
She's transitioned. It's
Well,
Mr. Screen now.
That could be absolutely.
That's providing she didn't get knocked off by the vax or anything. But yeah, no, you're exactly right.
Well, she probably took a very high position in the Biden administration, so she's not available for public comment right now.
John, before you came on, did you hear that we actually identified it was a difference of 15 million Democrat voters this time that didn't vote at 3 a.m.?
Well, and it's curious what they were doing this time at 3 a.m. Where were they? How come they couldn't turn out this time? I think we just had such a lot of excitement at the grassroots level that our goal to make it too big for them to rig,
Yes.
Saved us, because we had so many groups working to identify fraudulent voters, to identify flaws in our voter system, to identify fraud being conducted at the ballot places, at the polling places, in the counting. We worked very hard. Doesn't mean we have solved all the problems. We know they are still there. But I think what we see in Donald Trump is a politician who, let's don't call him a politician. He is a successful man who connects with all of us. And he identified the problems that are plaguing the heart of America. And he was able to organize his campaign around them. It was masterful. I mean, who would have thought that you would see the now president-elect flipping burgers and serving fries at McDonald's? Well, those of us who support Donald Trump thought, why not? Of course he'll do that. Of course he'll ride in a garbage truck. He will relate to us. And that's what we want in a leader.
One of the things that my dad did when he would take over, actually the first company that he took over, he started off as the janitor, that overnight janitor, funny enough. And a company came in, they interviewed every single, employee that they had. And then within a week or so, my dad was now the GM of this company. And it was a big manufacturing company. And so one of the things that he always did, because that wasn't the first time he came in and take over a company, was he worked every single position.
Yes. Because
you can't tell somebody how to do their job more effectively if you've never done the work. Even if it was for a day, he had to work every single position.
Right.
So he knew
undercover boss.
And you have to understand their job. Even if you can't do it, you have to understand it, and you have to respect them. Because if you don't believe that your company will go off the rails if the janitor doesn't show up, if your receptionist is a jerk, if the mail boy doesn't deliver mail and messages, if none of it works, if the smallest flaw will derail the company. It doesn't matter how great your idea is. And speaking of ideas, Walter, you and I have talked about this. I'm worried we'd have to do something with the saline content, but if we could get the liberal tiers and funnel them to West Texas right now, but that water project you and I have talked about, we could solve this pretty overnight.
Hey, listen. I literally, Texas has enough winds that I think that's going to be able to happen. I really wish New Mexico would have really turned out for Yvette Harrell better. We'll work with Gabe Vasquez, whatever. But at the same time, I'm telling you right now, we have the people on the, like I said, Eddie Morales. I've been dealing with him for the past year almost with water. And he's been as an elected official, knowing that I'm a party official of the opposing party. His door has always been open. It's come in. We don't discuss things that we don't disagree on. We only discuss the things we agree on, and we get crap done. And I mean, so I'm sitting there going, I need to go run for office. I mean, I'd have to run against him, so I'm not going to do that. But I'm just like, you know what? If we get people into Austin to the Senate, if we get people into Austin in the House, we get people into the U.S. House, we get people into Trump's administration that can just work on the stuff they agree with, then because the demon possessed narratives that Nancy Pelosi put out the demon-possessed narratives that certain Democrat members put out. And then I'll even go as far as saying the demon-possessed narratives that certain Republicans put out. You take all that off the table, we're going to get back to the Ronald Reagan, Tip O'Neill days. And a lot of, now I say Ronald Reagan, while being one of the favorite presidents, a lot of stuff slipped by him. I think Trump learned his lesson with his cabinet members, that a lot that slipped by him that put him in the 2020 position he was in. I think Trump is not going to go on a revenge tour. I think a part of his healing process that he talks about, healing the country, I think he's going to remove a lot of those folks that hopefully the Jan 6ers are freed, the ones that should be freed. But I think that he is going to remove a lot of the people that have created the hate, havoc, and discontent. And he's going to set it up for 2028 for there to be a smooth transition to a better win, because we now have proof that less people voted for Donald Trump than the last time. Less Democrats voted, period.
Mm-hmm.
And if he can get that energy, then in 2028, when it comes time for us to pick a new president, I guarantee you the Republican Party, if the Republican Party can handle the constitutional republic they were given, if they can handle that momentum that's going on right now that you cannot stop right now, if they can handle it, I think 2026 in Texas is going to be great. I think 2028 is going to be even greater.
But we have to start laying the groundwork for that now. We can celebrate for the next few days. We have to examine what we did, but we have to come in and get in action.
No. Republicans always wait till next March.
Well, John's got a great point. The thing is, we've only get maybe a year and a half once we take office in January to prove to the other half of the United States that we deserve to govern, right? We're going to have a majority. We can get done whatever we need to for the American people. And we've got a year and a half to prove before the midterms come up, because you know how it goes. It's always a 90% chance whoever's got the majority is going to lose the majority in the midterm. All right. So we got a small window to prove that we deserve to govern. And by the way, Walt, in 2020, 9 border counties in Texas went for Biden. Last night, 3 border counties, and if DeMitt counts, because DeMitt kind of touches the border just a tiny bit, but 3 counties went for Kamala versus 9.
DeWitt County went for Kamala?
Correct.
DIMMIT.
Dimmitt. What about
Dimmitt, yeah.
Starr County? Hasn't it gone Democrat for like 100 and
they broke 130 years of Democrat totality of that. They did it. They went right.
And that's incredible. That's a sign. We need to recognize that we have broken down barriers. We need to continue to build the bridges that we built and strengthen what we've got. But we also have to examine what we did wrong. We always have to pay attention. What did we do wrong?
Well,
and we can't gloat. We have to govern. We don't have to rule. There's a difference.
Are you getting that letter to our dear friend Ted Cruz?
Hang on. No. Ted Cruz is doing exactly what John said. Ted Cruz was able to get the bridge bill onto Biden's desk to be signed into law. So Ted Cruz, he's building bridges with Henry Cuellar.
Well, it's really amazing. I thought that this was going to be the closest Ted Cruz election. It wasn't. He won by over 1 million votes. The one with Francis O'Rourke was only won by 240,000 votes. So he increased his margin. But then again, Walt, it was the Trump pickup. Thank God.
Yep.
Well, it was the Trump pickup, and I really think that debate helped. If they had not done the debate, I think it would have been much closer, or it would have turned it over. Because here was the problem, and here's where Colin Allred did it all wrong. He just kept trying to pin him for Cancun. Kept calling him Cancun Cruz. And, you know, he was a moron. He had so many opportunities that he could have. His problem was he didn't realize he had to bring over Republican voters. That was Colin Allred's problem. He didn't realize that he had to bring over Republicans.
Yep. Well, and not just that. I mean, to be honest with you, because Ted is, in my personal opinion, Ted has fallen out of touch with the grassroots base. Everyone, you know, a lot of people got sick of the empty bus tour way back when, and then Ted hadn't shown up, and he gets blistered for that. I have county chairs call me, how do I get Ted Cruz signs? How do I do this? How do I do that? Back in 2018, I was shuffling Ted Cruz signs like that, like I was peddling dope on the border. But this time around, man, you couldn't find nothing. And you know, we put a couple of bucks into it, but it was like, you know what? If they're not going to call me back, then I'm not gonna bust my butt for people that have no respect to give you a call back. And I'll tell you right now, as I talked to Tony Trevino, as I talked to Kelly Perry, on SREC, that I'm on SREC with, we physically got to see the face-to-face interactions of people being okay with things, about the small local politics that nobody likes to watch. Hey, there's Matt. There's a guy we need on the show. Holy crap.
Yes.
But anyway, so we're going to be hanging out doing rodeo business on Saturday anyway, while I'm judging pork. But anyway, so
that just is chopped. That entire sentence.
Yeah.
We can have so much fun with every.
A lot of problems. That's the whole show, Jack. That's a whole show.
That's all.
So,
this is I like.
So we're going to call it Deliverance on the Rio Grande. Anyway, but no, the fact of the matter is, all these small little arguments on a small community scale is why in some of our counties on the border, we didn't win down the ballot. But it was so obvious that on the federal level, that people were sick and tired of how DC was being run. There were people that are like, you know what? I'm not going to get out and vote. Democrats, we're not going to get out and vote, because what's the point? They gave us Kamala. We don't want this again.
Well, I can't wait to dig into this little factoid. We picked up ground in Bexar County. So in 2020, the difference between Biden and Trump, so Biden got like almost 450,000 votes and Trump only got 308. This time, Kamala, so 450,000 votes, she only got 408,000. And instead of 308,000 for Trump, we got 336,000.
Yeah.
So, and listen on Bexar County, you need to recognize the fact that we had a failed county chairman that left office after giving the new county chairman, Chris Coons, what she really had to work for. And unfortunately, she did not get all the support she needed from the state. Well, actually, I don't think she got any from the state. But at the same time, I got to meet those candidates there because I have 60% of Bexar County in my SD. And watching how the big city politics play out, I think this is going to be a time for Chris Coons to show her worth as the county chair, because she's got the eloquent Louisiana charm that she's got in politics. Her mom is big in was a representative up there in Monroe, but at the same time, now is the time to mend and fix the problems that they had before, and the fact that McManus never put anyone in against Joaquin Castro. There's a lot of races that went uncontested. The sheriff, man, salad bar. There was so much grief we could have given that guy, because he went on a national stage and lied, and unfortunately Nathan Buchanan just couldn't pull that one off. He couldn't get out there into talking to the people, and that's a larger area than what Alberto Oliveras had to do, or that a Thad Cleveland had to do, or that Brad Coe had to do. But at the same time, that's the kind of one-on-one mentality you've got to have with those folks. And recognizing the problems that the feds brought to San Antonio, being the next largest city next to the border.
I'm putting this up here really quick. This is just the Bexar County numbers. There's a 14,000 undervote for president in Bexar County. Now, because I was like, well, let me look at these. Let's dig into Bexar a little bit more. Yeah.
So they undervoted president and voted for Cruz.
Well, no, they didn't. So Cruz didn't take Bexar County either, but they undervoted for the Senate race. But by whatever that number was, I just put out there. Hold on, my screen went away here. But yeah, they undervoted for that Cruz race. Now, I wouldn't have made a difference for Cruz per se, but there was a big look at the undervote numbers. You know what I mean? So when you're just looking at total voter numbers, not individual candidates, the presidential race had 754,306, and the U.S. senator race had 740,217. So there's still that 14,000 gap, and this is what we're talking about, and it's a method that we've always used. You have got to work with every single candidate that is on your ballot. You know, the GOPers love to scream all the way down the ballot, but you can't convince a candidate of that. And these numbers are proof of that.
So Sandra, and this goes on to what we talked about. You know, Marian Mendoza put me to bed last night whenever I found, because we're in the same time zone. So I'm driving back to my place in an undisclosed location, and she had lost her race, but she had won the Republican votes after raising more money than the other one and spending less money, because the party and the other ones, they put more money into this Kylie Barber chick, who was basically a liberal running as a Republican. But at the same time, look at this. This is Arizona I'm talking about. I'm sorry. Right. So Arizona, Kari Lake. Okay. Kari Lake did not work down ballot with people. And this is why I thought Mark Lamb, because Mark Lamb was the only one on the ticket, Kari Lake, who recruited Mark Lamb, decided to jump in after his son had died. His son and grandchild had died, and the daughter-in-law, after they all had died, she just assumed he wasn't going to run, and he continued to run. He had a very good second place with the limited money that he had. He had the ability to make the difference for all those down ballot candidates, because he would have worked with them. Yep. So ask yourself, when did we have Ted Cruz come to San Antonio? When did we have Ted Cruz or even the party come to Laredo? I know that, and you know what? Ted Cruz would have won Laredo if he just would have repeated 2018 at TAMU University. Whenever I walked in there, and there was 1,400 people in that the fire marshal should have shut that place down. It looked like a migrant processing center, not because they're Hispanic, but because of how many people were in there. I mean, they were just crammed wall to wall. And that's how it looked. We did not see that this time around. And had we had those upper ballots, because who came to Maverick County? Donald Trump. Who came to down to the valley? Donald Trump. When have we seen in 6 years Ted Cruz put on any rally on the border since the last time in 2018? We had not.
Now, Walter, he brought his bus tour there this time.
Wait a minute. You are right. He went to Webb County, didn't he?
Yeah.
But he did go total immersion in Cancun as well. You know.
Hey, hang on a second. Well, and you know what? You know what was a stupid thing for him to do? Is for him to run from that. He should have gone on the whole thing. This is my family. We were freezing our asses off too. And you know what? After my making phone calls and figuring out this is a state problem, I'm going to be a dad and a husband, and we're going to go get warm. So screw the rest of y'all. Y'all can go hang out there with AOC while she's passing out your food from your food bank, because that's what a bank has. It has the product in it. And everybody, oh my God, we gotta do AOC. Did you know AOC would not come to the border when the Democrats asked her to come to the border during the migrant crisis, which was at the looming helm of that freeze, the same freeze? She turned her back on Democrat mayors. That's what made the difference.
In her defense, she did go to the border. They just couldn't figure out what she was doing in Canada. So, thing is, here's the deal. I've got to get off in about 10 minutes, and then I'll come back on from a remote location. But Williamson County, okay, Wilco, they deserve a huge shout out. So in 2020, Biden took it with about 49% of the vote, and Biden won with 143,000 votes. They are red now. Williamson County, okay, 143. Donald Trump took it by 154,000 votes to Kamala's 147. So the Democrat number grew a little bit, but the Trump number, what are we talking about here? There were he took 50.2% of Williamson County.
You know what? And y'all are going to die when I tell you this, but you've also got to give some other people some good credit. You have to really look at the fact that, okay, I mean, get yourself ready. And I forgot to correct myself about Webb County. Ted Cruz did go there. I had two good friends in the audience. I saw him in the pictures, so I just forgot about that. But here's the key. But he should have been there more. But here's the key. Greg Abbott he literally made the difference in a lot of these areas, because whenever he showed up, because a lot of his candidates did not win, but whenever he came out, he had a good relationship with Trump. He was working Trump's policies. He's never stopped saying Trump's name. And y'all know how I feel. Y'all know I was with Alan West. I mean, Sandra, you were there when we were recruiting the guy. But here's the deal. Greg Abbott finally came about a couple years back. And it takes those upper ballots to come on down. And I'm telling you right now, the Trump name is what carried most of the upper ballots, because nobody when the Supreme Court justices came down into the valley, into Webb County and all that stuff, I don't think they went into Webb County. I think they went into Atascosa and some other ones. They were there, but we could have won more judicial races had we had more of the upper ballot come out for the lower ballot and work together. That would have been our thing.
Here's going to be our problem in Texas, and as we're coming into this legislative session, we've got to be bulldogs on this.
Come on, don't rain on the parade. Can we play the federal game? Can we enjoy the whole show?
I know.
Before we get into the Civil War.
the Texas Civil War that's fixing to happen in January. No, they've already come out swinging. We didn't win all the races that Abbott was involved in, but we think we won enough that we can overwhelmingly just push through the school choice bill. And y'all know my feelings on the school choice bill, and I'm not happy about it. And I think that that's actually going to hurt us for 2026 more than it's going to help us here in Texas, is pushing that legislation.
So here's the key on that. If you'll notice, where school choice didn't pass, Donald Trump did.
Ooh.
The party needs to listen to the people instead of these pansy-ass consultants that think they know better than you and me, that are 23 and 24 and got a degree and they know how to crunch numbers. And golly, I walked the most amount and got paid $15 an hour. Now I'm 25 and I got to sit next to this guy and snort his Dr. Pepper. I'm telling you right now, this is the time to listen to the voters. And this election has proven Project Red Texas did not work. School choice so far did not work. Half the people don't even know who Dade Phelan is. So that little Civil War right there, and listen, what they did to Ken Paxton, I'm not behind that at all. But Ken Paxton, I mean, where's he been? Hey, we haven't seen him on the border.
County. Sorry,
you know what? Yeah, no, you're exactly right. We haven't seen him on the border either. But here's the key. The Civil War in the Republican Party needs to end, because right now the Democrats are looking for a home, and the last thing they're going to do is walk in while there's a battering pin, there's a rolling pin flying across the room. They're not going to sit at that table.
Okay, but Walter, here's going to be where the problem is. And John, I want you to weigh in on this. I was getting ready to say we need to take a break, which we do, but here, let's have this out first. The problem is which side on the Republican Party side is going to concede then? Because that's what it's going to take, is somebody just say, well, gosh darn it, you're right. We just all need to go along and get along. And you rabble rousers over there, you sit down and shut up because we've been here longer. We got more dollars than you. John?
Hey.
That's a you pulled the pin on the grenade and tossed it over here. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I see Walter about to explode.
Well, that's the one. I think you just set him up, and I'm supposed to diffuse this. I just don't see it happening. We've got in the Republican Party, we do have, I think in Texas, we have a mandate to going forward. We have control of all levels of government in Texas, and we have seen a big switch to the Republican Party for many that traditionally have been very much entrenched in the Democrat Party. What we do with it going forward is going to be very important. We need to listen to everyone. We're not going to agree on everything. We're going to have some knockdown dragouts in the Republican Party, but at the end of the day, there does come that point where it's the old schoolyard brawl where you get in a fist fight and then 20 minutes later they're your best friend. You have to be able to do that. That's the art of governing. You have to listen. You have to sort out your differences, and you have to move forward. We have so many issues that Texas needs to address. We cannot get bogged down in a few things. We have to address all of the things. Are we going to get everything we want? Am I going to get everything I want, or you get everything? Absolutely not. You accept that from the beginning. It does not mean you can't try. We have to try for everything we want, but we don't quit trying, but we have to keep moving forward on the areas we can advance, and we have to be open to listening to other people's solutions. The solution may come like your dad being when he started out as the janitor in the factory. The janitor may come and knock on your door and say, look, I've got a solution to problem X, Y, and Z. You have to listen because he may be right. And if you refuse to do that, then you're kind of up the creek. And we have a tradition in Texas of knowing better. You mentioned earlier that we tend to govern from the top down. We tell the people this is what you want. We can't do that. And that doesn't just apply to Republicans. It applies to everyone. You begin to think that your ideas are the best. Well, you need to listen to what the people want and incorporate that into your plan. And it's difficult in a state as diverse and as large as Texas, but you got to make the effort.
Well, so John, point well made. That's exactly, I talked to Tony Trevino this morning, and she said, she was thanking me for some of the work I've done back there in the past. And I said, no, this has got nothing to do with me, because as the SREC for Senate District 19, I am not the same SREC as I was for Senate District 4.
Correct.
Because SD4 was a different dynamic. And those folks over there couldn't understand what I was talking about on the border. The people in the SREC that aren't around us, I mean, I literally had the first words out of Dorinda Randall's mouth to me at my first SREC interaction outside of the convention was, I've been to, because I put it in a Signal chat and about, hey, we need y'all's help on the border. And she says, I've been to the border 5 times. And I'm like, okay. And I literally was just like, oh my God, is she really saying this right now? Because that was the first words. I didn't know what she was talking about. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute. I had something on Signal several days ago. And so she says, I've been to the border 5 times. I've got a picture in front of the wall. And I'm sitting there going, whoop-de-freaking do. I'm building the wall. But you don't want to know what the best part is? I'm physically talking to people. I'm learning the environment, because my SD4 doesn't work in SD19, which doesn't really work in SD21, even though I've been in 21 a bit. So I've had to sit and learn. You can ask Kelly Perry. I fussed at her last year over things. This year, I'm like, let me shut my mouth and listen. Let me interpret what I'm seeing, because it's a different dynamic. You're exactly right. And what the biggest part is, people over there don't understand. Hey, and I will tell you one thing right now, Dallas-Fort Worth area, I will never understand that. I'm understanding the border. I understand Houston. I understand Moco. I understand West Texas. But DFW, there's something in the water up there that I can't put it together. And I love those people. I talk to those people all the time, but they keep doing the same stuff. And guess what we're not doing? We're not winning in those areas. What's my record now, Sandra? 3 counties?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we haven't gone to my other ones. And by the way, I adopted DeWitt County. Hey, if the JP will call me back, I'll pay this stupid ticket.
You're just trouble, Walter. Texas, there used to be an ad about Texas as a whole other country, and it is. Mm-hmm. We have very different, our regions very different. We have to find a way to work together, and we can do that. That's what makes us unique, is we can do all of those things. And that's why I think when you look at Texas, we can show the rest of the nation what to do by how we perform with our different, call them factions if you want, our different regions, our different goals, our different concerns. We have to work together. And the folks in DFW have to recognize that they may not directly see the issues facing them that are facing Stark County, although you and I know they are, but they have to work with them. We have to work together.
Stark County funneled the problems through. That's why that's why they got the problems. That, you know what, you didn't pay attention to us 8 years ago. Guess what? We let it get. It didn't stop here. It parked its little butt in your area, and guess what happened there? That's right. You got a little bit more grief that we don't have to contend with on the border. Thank you so much for not listening.
Well,
for so long. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're okay. I was going to say here, let's break some of that down, and I can speak for Star because I've been doing it for what, 5-6 years almost now. So when you look at Star, when you look at Zapata, and even when you look here in Webb, they know that they cannot go against the local stuff. So their savior, if you will, politically speaking, has got to be from the top down, because they know they cannot fight this stuff locally. They just can't. So that's why you saw Donald Trump win. That's why you saw Ted Cruz win, except for in Webb County of my districts on the border. When you start realizing that those, and Walter, you know this for firsthand, and so do you, John, because you both spent a ton of time down here. When you know that what they're actually fighting, and this is where I give Tony Trevino tons of props for this, because fundamentally she agrees with closing the primaries, but it doesn't work for our portion of SD21. It does not work for the southern portion of SD21, because they cannot fight the local stuff if we take things away from them.
So here's the thing. And remember, wasn't it Benito that had to go vote in a garage because they wouldn't let Republicans vote in public? He was the one that was. They had to pay. They had to pay to have a Republican primary in his garage so that they could have a Republican primary. Otherwise, it was going to be, here's the ballot and this is what you get. You never saw the Secretary of State, which happened to be Republican, by the way. You never saw the SOS take care of that during that time frame. You never saw the AG come out and take care of that. And that would be the AG of John Cornyn. That would be the AG of Greg Abbott. So, I mean, that's Texas's history right there. But no, exactly what you said. I'm all for closing the primaries until I got to Senate District 19. And then that's when it was like, you know what? It's going to take this conversation face to face. We need to win hearts and minds. We don't need to win the text message war. You got to be boots on the ground talking to people. You got to know how to manage your time and manage your office. And the best part, you need to manage your constituent services.
Well, you and I, all three of us have discussed how the border issue that we have faced so much with the illegal immigration, they don't stay in the border counties. They move through, but we found it difficult to convince the folks in the metroplexes and in the rest of the country that this was happening. They did not understand that this is not a localized problem. This is a nationwide problem. And so one of the things that I talked about was the fentanyl problem. Why? Because I could tie fentanyl to our border, to the porous border, but I could also show how it was impacting families in North Texas, in Chicago, and everywhere around the nation. And so we would stress, this is your problem, and this is one symptom of a even bigger problem. And that's what we had to do.
John, you and I have friends who have lost loved ones to fentanyls that are no longer our friends because they want to stand behind a personality over stand behind what's actually right. This is a huge problem with those people. And I mean, it's because they just have a blind faith in what they're being told because they don't get out of their bubble. And you know what? Tony Ortiz did a very good, I think it was yesterday. He did a very good discussion in his Substack for Current Revolt about getting outside of your political bubble. I mean, hey, I was attending Democrat campaign speeches and events, and they weren't even outing me as a Republican, and I wasn't wearing Trump stuff in there. But you want to know one thing I noticed that the Democrats were not doing in my Senate district? They were not talking about Joe Biden, and it was because Kamala Harris was not even a part of the equation at the time.
Right.
They were not talking about Joe Biden. They were not talking about Donald Trump. They were talking about local stuff only. Those Democrats knew they were not going to win the Donald Trump speech, the anti-Donald Trump speech. They knew they could not run on Joe Biden, much less Kamala. I mean, we just saw Kamala Harris got 15 million votes less than Joe Biden did.
Yeah.
And Donald Trump got what, 3-4 million less than he did the last time? If those numbers were even real. So yeah, right. I mean, whenever I say that, I mean, you know, we all know that 2021 or 2020, we feel that there was a lot of fraud that happened. This time the cemetery voters, they didn't wake up from the dead and vote this time.
Well, there's been a lot of people working around the state, around the nation, trying to remove the cemetery voters and trying to get people off the ballot, off the voter rolls who shouldn't actually be there. Because we finally started to pay attention to the mechanism. There are all these elements we had to pay attention to. We couldn't just blindly trust or assume, because we all know what assuming does. And so we've made great strides, but all politics truly is local. And when you talk to someone in whatever county in the United States that you name, you need to be able to talk to them about the issues that are affecting them. And that's one of the things Donald Trump did so very well. It didn't matter what county you were in. You understood that the economy was terrible. You understood that when you went to the grocery store, you were having to make tough decisions every day that you didn't have to make just a few years ago. You understood that crime was up, no matter how they tried to sugarcoat the statistics. And you understood that you were worried about your family's safety going forward. You were worried about national security. You were worried about the troubles around the world that seemed to occur in spite of the United States rather than being deterred by the United States. And you couldn't be happy with that. And that's what I think paid off with Donald Trump. He represented a real plan for securing our future. And that mattered whether you were in a little tiny town in South Texas or a great big city up north. He resonated with everyone. And that's what a politician has to do. Politics is local. What are the problems facing Laredo and how do we address them? You may not have a perfect solution, but you need to at least be aware of what those problems are. And that's our job as Texas Republicans, is to understand what are the problems in Laredo or El Paso or Eagle Pass. We have to understand what's there, and we have to relate to the people there. When someone says, I'm having trouble, we need to listen instead of saying, don't worry, I'm going to solve it. We need to hear them and then formulate our plan.
And Sandra, on what he just said, we need the Republicans to get the Democrats together. So I need you to talk to your boy because mine's ready. Now it's national news. Okay.
Everyone out there, we're wondering what the heck are you guys talking about? But you know, what you said earlier, Walter, about going to the Democrat meetings and listening to what they're saying, that's important. We need it's basic fundamental intelligence gathering.
No, well, and here's the thing.
What are they doing?
I drove 3.5 hours going, okay, are you willing to do this? Yes. Are you going to make a scene? Heck no. Matter of fact, at the very end, it was like, hey, can we get selfies? And listen, I actually enjoyed these people. I went to a county outside of my SD because I did. Oh, good Lord! Can you imagine what they would do to me then? I mean, people wanted to rail on Briscoe Cain this last time around because he was passing out gun-free zones at the Democrat convention back in 2020 or prior to it in 2018. I don't know if y'all remember that or not. He was handing out signs for gun-free zones so people could place them outside of their house. I mean, which people are like, he went to the Democrat primary. His challenger was, and I'm like, that was one of the best. What do you call it? One of the best troll moves you could ever make. And I was going to go to the one in El Paso. I just did. I mean, I was having to move from one place to another on the border, so I couldn't make it. I was 3 hours away. But here's the key: I went to a Democrat event. That I went there, I was respectful. They didn't call me out as a Republican until the very end when it was time to take pictures together. And the funny part is, those Democrats used my pictures in their campaign photos.
No, they did, which was quite funny. I mean, not with him in it, in fairness. Not with him
well, no. I wouldn't have cared. I wouldn't have cared because here's the problem. You don't want to know my response was going to be? You haven't put a Republican in that seat yet. I'm here picking up the pieces. I'm going to be like Chris Coons. I'm going to pick up the pieces, and I'm going to roll this thing forward until we can win it all the way around.
Yeah. Well, John, I want to be respectful of your time, even though we haven't been. Do you need to go? We only have about 20 minutes left.
I'll sit here with you guys. Gosh, how many hours have the three of us burned in coffee shops and dives around Texas? You start to tally them up. We have 254 small battles to win all around Texas, and all of those battles add up. We're not going to win them all. We can certainly try to win them all, and we hope we win them all. But we have to have a plan going forward, and we have to look at where we made gains, whether they're large or just small incremental gains around Texas, and how we made them. And what Walter pointed out about listening to the Democrats, letting them see you, because I'll tell you, Walter, what you did was you identified a way to reach voters that you never would reach any other way. Why? Because those people are not going to go to a Republican meeting. They're not going to show up at a Republican meeting. So you show up at theirs. And when you show up at theirs, all of a sudden they go, hey, this guy doesn't have two heads. He's not going to bite us. He's not some monster. And he actually listens. And at the end of the day, you have made a small gain. Now, they may not immediately run out and vote Republican, but they will start thinking, hey, I don't hate these people. I can talk to these people. Maybe we can work something out. There's a fellow I remember early on talking to him about engagement named Craig Latoul over in Fort Bend County. And he says, you have to go and let people see that you're not crazy. You have to go and let people see that, I can talk to them. They're not going to attack me. And they may not join you. It may be years before they listen to you or start to see things your way. But you have to play that long game. We have to do that. And we can't. I've seen folks attack folks on our side who make the effort to reach these others, to, like Walter said, go to their meetings and listen to them and hear them out, and to work with all these groups that we're now celebrating voting for Donald Trump. We have these little, we like to slice people up into little voting blocks. This voting block suddenly voted for Donald Trump. Why did that happen? Well, one of the reasons it happened was because people like Walter West showed up and talked to them and listened to them and actually expressed concern over their concerns. That's what we have to do to make this work.
Yep. No, you're absolutely correct. And Walter froze. I don't think he fell asleep. It looks like he's trying to come back. Oh, the great Biondo is with us again.
There he is.
Hey, guess what just happened?
Starlink, buddy. Starlink.
No, my phone overheated. It's 60 freaking degrees outside. I got illegal tint on the front of my windows, and my phone overheated.
Well, thank goodness you're in an out-of-state truck, because that's because I would have to turn you in.
Don't tell Steve McCraw that, because he's got an APB out on my butt.
He's fixing to bite the ghost anyway. Now I want to take this conversation in a way, in a different direction for a moment, and I think we might be able to pull this off. We'll see. I might be starting my own war here, but let's find out. So we all anticipated two outcomes for today, right? Obviously, there was only two outcomes. There was either going to be Trump was a clear-cut winner, or we were going to be dealing with voter fraud and all sorts of stuff. We didn't know if we were going to repeat 2020 or if we were going to have a 2016. I firmly believe that the people on the local level who were counting those ballots said, hey, we're not putting up with any shenanigans this year. And you saw nationwide where they were being more transparent, where they were making sure that there was camera crews inside of these voting locations. I'm sorry, these ballot counting locations and things along those lines, because you had a bunch of 70-year-old ladies going, we've been doing things the same way for 100 years. And I don't know what the hell happened, but it wasn't us. And nobody wanted to understand that. So I do think that there was some of that this year, or a lot more of that this year. Now, here's my I hope I'm wrong, but I'm pulling out my crystal ball of predictions here. So one of the conversations that my Austin and I had this morning, as he was talking about his phone just blowing up with his friends that were pulling for Kamala, and you know, all of those fun things that happens. But a lot of he actually had one friend who was already 18 and could go and vote, and he voted for Trump. But anyway, we were talking about, so what happens next? What is the temperature of our country? And one of the conversations that he and I had in that was, I don't think that we're out of the woods for a civil war. I don't think that Antifa is going to go away. I think that we're going to see what they wanted to accomplish on January 6th of 2020. I think we're going to see Antifa come back for a second vengeance. What are your thoughts?
Well, Montgomery County, they had Black Lives Matter with a stronger presence there. After Black Lives Matter has been proven to be a fraudulent by the black people whose lives are supposed to matter. They're the ones who called out BLM. So I think you're correct on that. Here's the best part. I have been watching podcasts, and I looked at Kash Patel when he was on with Sean Ryan. That's the one that's biggest on me because he was a part of the Benghazi prosecutions. By the way, those murderers are already freed now. And he went into things. He went into, because he was on the intel side in the beginning under Obama, and then under Trump, and then was being surveilled by everybody. He was let Google had to call him and say, hey, by the way, we've passed the 5-year mark. Chris Wray has been they've been looking at all of your online activity. And so whenever Kamala Harris was saying Donald Trump's going to weaponize the federal government, these idiots already had. So they were just lining it up for, oh, Donald Trump's going to do this, he's going to do that. I'm hoping he comes down with a solid fist. He said he wants to repair. He wants to heal the nation. He is going to have to cut away the cancer first. And that's going to be the hardest thing to do, because where we find cancer, they're going to find a tyrant. Not realizing that, I'll be honest with you, we've been living under communist rule for how long now? I mean, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, they're killing your squirrels. You know,
what about bread?
Hey, listen, that's all funny stuff, but at the end of the day, it's true. And we have been as close to a Stalin society as we have ever been. We have been worse off now than when the McCarthy trials were coming out. With the John probably stuff whenever you were running around in diapers. Watching on the black and white.
I was in diapers with Sam Houston, so it's.
Oh, okay. Well, then you were around to see the TV get invented, but
right.
But no, I mean, but that's the key thing that nobody's looking at is, yeah, Donald Trump's talk about out of the woods. He's not out of the woods. I will tell you this: I want to see some prosecutions. I want to see. I want to see Nancy Pelosi's portfolio get put out. You know, Andrew Schiff won that race.
Yeah.
So Andrew Schiff is in that seat. I want. They went after a former president. Guess what? Turnabout's fair play. And you know what? They went after a former president. Guess what? Turnabout's fair play. And you know what? They went after a former president. Guess what? Turnabout's fair play. And you know what? They went after a former president. Guess what? Turnabout's fair play. And you know what? They went after a former president. Guess what? Turnabout's fair play. And you know what? They went after a former president. Guess what? Turnabout's fair play. And you know what? They went after a former president. Guess what? Turnabout's fair play. And you know what? They went after a former president. Guess what? Turnabout's fair play. And you know what? They went after a former president. Guess what? Turnabout's fair play. And you know what? They went after a former president. Guess what? Turnabout's fair play. And you know what? They went after a former president. Guess what? Turnabout's fair play. And you know what? They went after a former president. Guess what? Turnabout's fair When he does it, he doesn't need to have the mean tweets. He needs to have the facts on his side. And the fact that CNN is only getting 50,000 viewers a day should tell you right now is the time for independent journalists to stand up, whether they got a podcast, whether they've got some blonde on some goofy Facebook program that's doing stuff. They need to make sure that we're talking to every single person, and all this stuff is about, all this stuff is out and about, and that we're watching it, we're talking about it, we're exposing it on a local level. And exactly what you said, John, all politics are local, and they work their way up to the top.
Well, what they do is they use mainstream media to tell us how to think, and we can't allow that to happen. And you know what? There are folks having podcasts all across the nation today, just like we are, talking about these issues. Some of them I disagree with. Some of them I agree with. Some of them are bringing information out that I've never heard before. And would I have heard it were it not for these smaller independent journalists? Probably not. And one of the key things about independent journalists is they don't owe anyone anything. They voice their opinion, they share what they learn, and they don't ask for anything in return. They're not out there trying to make ratings and get the next multi-million-dollar contract. They're just sharing information. And how much, we were talking about the border earlier. Where did most people learn the most about the border? It was from folks tweeting, folks sharing the information that was happening in their communities, in their towns, on their ranches, showing the pictures of babies abandoned on the border. We wouldn't have heard that from CNN.
Hey, listen. I had the husband of a CNN editor. She quit her job because this is a black lady in Atlanta. She quit her job because she was tired of being told what to say. She was like, I'm not sure, whatever. So she may not have talked like that. However, when her husband came down with his dreadlocks on, and I'm sitting here, and listen, I'm being stereotypical. This black dude with dreadlocks and a couple other, the name of their little journalist company was some black thug name. What we would call black thug name. And it would be, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this. They called and they said, hey, we want to talk to you about the border. They sat down. One of them was an Air Force veteran. And we sat down, and I didn't look at them as black dreadlock wearing dudes from Atlanta. They said, we don't know what's going on for ourselves. That was earlier this year. And I'm like, you were 3 years, 5 years, 7 years late to the party. But you know what? If I want to get anything done out of this meeting right here, I want you to walk away with the truth. Not as I see it, but as what you see. And right. I sat down and explained some things to them that they had no clue of, because they don't get out. It's like Republicans. Oh, Ted Cruz is going to carry us to victory. I think Donald Trump put his ass on his back and walked him across that victory line. But either way it goes, bottom line is they came to see, and it was, you know what? I don't need to make fun of anything. I don't need to be, I'm not going to talk to them, because our party is very good at doing that. I sat down, I took these guys to the border. They filmed me. My voice was heard in downtown ghetto Atlanta. And he said, we represent the black population. The name of their company is something like that. So I can honestly say that because they were like, yeah, we're like, we're kind of the ghetto thug of Atlanta, but because they do, like, I hate to say they do P. Diddy videos, but they do the really cool videos of the local rappers and stuff. Well, they learned the border this past year for the first time because nobody sat down with them. Nobody reached out to them. They don't get my tweets. I don't have a Twitter following that's worth anything. I don't have a Facebook following that's worth anything. But people know me from all over because I get up and speak to people. I don't have time to, I got squirrels and crap on my Facebook page right now because I really don't want to get mean and ugly or nasty like half the Republicans I know do. And I used to do that. But the bottom line is, once we get out and we start talking to people, it's going to be successful. Once people are told the truth. And once I decide, because listen, I listen to a guy named Brian Tyler Cohen. If you ever watch him on YouTube, he's a great YouTuber. He's got 7 million followers across all of his stuff. He is the most leftist person I've ever seen. but he is an eloquent leftist. He knows how to make Donald Trump look like a demon, and he's wearing a nun's costume while he's doing it. So you think you're hearing a nun. I'm kidding. He's not really doing it, but he's very eloquent about how he does it. And so I'm able to learn how the left is communicating. The leftists are communicating with the left, so we can start bringing them over to the right. And the problem is, we want to talk about the RPT's priorities, and we want to push it. We want to demonize all these state reps that don't exactly go along with us, or they didn't support school choice, which, by the way, was not a priority. Exactly like universal pre-K in 2015 was not a priority. And bottom line is, now we're communicating with people, so we're bringing voters in. And if you look at it, Donald Trump lost votes, but he won.
Yep. I was looking to see if I could find the pictures from that group to give what their name was, because I think they really were. And this is the thing, and it's something that we've talked about, the three of us. We've all reflected on this on more than one occasion. It's kind of the theme, I think, of elections to where they should be, and how we practice it, if that makes any sense, right? Doctors they practice medicine. John, you can speak to that. We practice politics here. And so when you're looking at what people don't know, right? And I used to say this all the time, with speaking specifically about my district, they have no idea down here on the border what in the world we're talking about in Austin or in Houston or in some of these other places, because it's every day for us. It's not every day for them. And then the same of the border crisis, even here in the state of Texas. How many times, in fact, John, the first time you met me, I talked about our border.
Right.
And you said, I had no idea. Because it's not your everyday. You live in Houston.
Right.
What happens in Laredo, you have no idea. It's our job to be that brand ambassador and not belittle people for not knowing, right? It's just like, there's a church on every freaking street corner, and yet there's still people who have no idea who Jesus is. And we're like, how could you not know? You're stupid. You smell like cheese. And that's not how we're supposed to approach this.
Well, what happens so often is a politician will blow into town, and the voters will say, we want to talk about X, whether it's the economy, the price of a gallon of milk. They want to talk about the price of a gallon of milk. And our politicians and our political strategists will say, that's fine, and that's all fine and good. But what we think you should be talking about is this other thing. We need to focus on the voters. And if we focus on the voters, we focus on the electorate, we focus on their concerns, we're going to win. We're not going to win by a small margin. We're going to crush it. And that's important. But we can't force our candidates to have a uniform message either. What applies on the border and the message that our candidates on the border need to have, it can't contradict, it shouldn't contradict what's happening elsewhere, but it should be different. What's going to play in the Panhandle is going to be different than what's going to play in East Texas. We have to recognize that. They're not mutually exclusive. Earlier you talked about when you treat a cancer, how you have to cut the cancer out. You do, and you have to recognize that when you're cutting that cancer out, there may be a few good things that go along with it. You have to be prepared for that, because it's not going to be perfect. But you have to, once you set your mind to doing it, you have to do it. You have to move decisively, because the stakes are too high. If you wimp out, you're going to lose the entire battle. You may feel good about, I took the minimalist approach to it. No, you have to take an aggressive approach to it. I remember one of my professors, one of my mentors, saying once, you're an invader. When you're going to operate on someone, you have to recognize you're an invader. And when you invade, you have to do what has to be done, because if you just kind of halfway do it, you're going to lose. And the stakes are such that not only are you going to lose, the patient is going to lose. If we don't take that same attitude when it comes to righting the ship of state, then not only are our candidates going to lose in the next election cycle, our nation is going to be worse for it. So we've won. Donald Trump is going to be the next president. Ted Cruz is back in the Senate, thank goodness. We have seen gains across our state. We've seen shifts in counties all across the state. We have to continue to move forward, and we have to learn from everything we did right and continue that. We have to learn from things we did wrong, and we have to examine what the Democrats did that worked, what worked well. And if I will just say this, if somebody could come up with a way to just outlaw text messaging.
No. Yes, Lord of Jesus. Yes. Holy smokes. You know, it's frustrating. And what was really funny is one particular candidate, as I'm frozen for some reason, one particular candidate whose name will not be named was sending out these text messages that I thought were absolutely ludicrous. But what was funny is they had me as Sandra for a very long time. And then all of a sudden it switched to Joseph. I'm like, that's weird. My number didn't change.
Well, it's a fact of life. Text messaging is not going to go away.
And it's not effective in campaigns. It really is not. It turns people off to get 900 messages a day.
It was effective a few years ago.
Right.
And now everyone has jumped on that bandwagon. So we need to look for what is the next thing that's going to matter. And it's not going to be skateboarding at Whataburger. It's not going to be the mass texting. There is something out there. We need to recognize what it is. Walter's going to enlighten us.
No, I'm not getting on a skateboard.
Enlighten us, Bacon Master.
No. Mountain boarding is the way to do it because it's a skateboard with 4-wheel drive tires.
We'll have to have a conversation offline about what we will and will not be doing in the future.
Well, I suggest that what's going to work, there's a difference between a presidential campaign and a campaign for Congress. What's going to work in a campaign for Congress, for state rep, for state senator, is going out and seeing people face to face. And it's hard in a state the size of Texas. You know, we've driven the state of Texas. It is a big state, but you need to meet as many people. Let them see you. Let them understand that to know that you are actually concerned about them. And when you disagree with someone, let them tell you their complaints. Let them tell you their concerns. Listen to them. It doesn't mean you have to capitulate, because if you can't defend why you think what you're doing is correct, you need to rethink it all. But you need to listen to them and let them know they matter.
So funny you say that. I'm gonna give one example. I have this lady that calls me all the time, and it was in I'm literally sound like, well, I don't sound like her, but she's Mr. Walter. I want you to know that I am going to be okay with Donald Trump. But I have to vote for this guy down. And you know what I did? I took whatever I could get. And Republicans need to do that. If you can't get the whole thing, you take whatever you can get. Because I did get some of the county commissioner races. I did get Donald Trump and Ted Cruz. I didn't get the state rep. I wasn't happy about the Republican pick state rep anyway, but I wasn't going to go against the party. And the Democrat knew that, who happens to be a friend of mine, by the way. And that was a tough place because I wasn't going to be a Doc Alma. You're not going to see me kicked off all my committees. Oh, wait a second.
You kicked yourself off of your committees.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was Doc Alma before Doc Alma was even introduced this time around. I'm kidding, Doc. So anyway, going on with Al, I mean, bottom line is exactly what you said. We gotta talk to who we can, and it actually proves that the people that voted for Donald Trump and Ted Cruz, for the most part, went all the way down the ballot. And if you look at what happened in San Antonio, where there was the 14,000 undervote, holy crap! And that's a big area to talk to. I think Chris has got her homework done. I think she's got a master plan, and as long as she can get the captains and lieutenants together, I think that Bexar County is going to be the only metropolis that comes close to a margin of winning. I'm not negating Harris County, but there's too much of a civil war still going on with the factions that want to power control over there, that we're never going to win DFW or the Houston Metroplex until those people lay down the swords within the party get off of the scrimmage field and start playing on the real field against the real enemy.
Yep.
Well, I think Chris is doing a great job. Chris is doing a great job. I love Chris. I don't give up hope for any of the Metroplexes, because when we look at Houston, for example, last night we made gains. We didn't have nearly as many successful runs the last cycle as we did last night. Did we have what we wanted?
Who all did you get?
We elected several judges. We had almost nothing last cycle. We elected a lot of judges, not as many as we want. They're going to people that are going to complain about what we did or didn't do. But if you look at our judicial races, we did much better than we did just a few years ago. Did we win all the races that we want? Did we sweep the Democrats out of office? No, we didn't. We have to start somewhere. You have to lay the foundation, and you have to continue.
Did Susanna get it?
Dr. Pill, yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think if you look at the appeals courts, you'll be very pleased with what we did there.
I want to really quick, if I can find it. We got a couple things because we got to get off the air. The first thing I do want to say is here in Laredo, here in Webb County, we lost a friend. Mr. Joe Brennan passed away on Sunday. He ran in 2022. He ran for state rep against Richard Raymond. Joe and I agreed on so many things. There was a couple things that we didn't. Going back to inter-party stuff, there was a very small handful of things that we didn't agree on. Usually it was a person. But he and I we had a really great working relationship. And he passed away to us unexpectedly. Apparently he had been sick for a little while. Just recently he had ran for Webb County chairman position. And anyway, so he was a staunch pillar of our community and a good friend to many. And so our sincerest condolences to his family. And his services are going to be on Friday morning, so I most likely will not have a show on Friday. He's got there'll be a viewing, of course, tomorrow evening, but Friday morning is his actual services. So there will be no show on Friday. And our thoughts and prayers to the Brennan family. Now, one more thing, and is Simon sent a video. It is sight unseen, but it's called Goodbye, Joe. And I feel like it's probably a great way to, not the same Joe, just so we're on this, just so we're all clear on this. It's a fitting way to end today's show. So John, thank you so much for being on with us today. Jack, thanks for popping on. It was Women on Wednesday with all the men. So
there you have it.
We love you guys.
No, today was Walt on Wednesday.
There you go. There you go. Well, and before you go, Sandra, I do want to thank all of the activists, all of the grassroots that worked so hard, all of our county chairs, because that is where the battle is won there.
Yep.
And it is so important. And right now they need to take a victory lap, a well-deserved victory lap. So thank you all.
And no, I could not be prouder. So congratulations to all the county chairs. There's several that are going to be getting a phone call this afternoon. All the people who are not involved in the party, but still were pushing and working hard. That we the people work that we talk about. That's why Donald Trump is your next president. Walt, go ahead.
Everybody, you can take the rest of the week off, but have your ass back to work on Monday, because this ain't gonna be like your normal Republican Party win.
We love you guys. We'll see you later. Bye.
Adios.
And woke, the streets are full of fire and smoke. This ain't the way I thought it would be. The White House full of evil folks. Americans ain't free no more. They don't respect folks like you and me. The way we're treated ain't been fair. Fake news on every TV. 4 years we've been in this nightmare while they killed American dreams. We can't afford our lives here. Rent, food, and gasoline. These colors don't run, and I only want it once. Buddy, don't tread on me. I won't forget the ones who died for our freedom, and I ain't gonna hand it back. No, no, no. If liberty and justice ain't enough to believe in, then get out of here and don't look back. Go, go, go. We love our home, and if if you don't pack your bags, you're free to go. Don't let the big door hit you with a good Lord split you. Wave goodbye to Joe. We love our land. If you ain't fans, buddy will help you pack your bags. Don't let the big door hit you with a good Lord split you. Burn someone else's flag.
America is losing hope, divided by the way we vote. This ain't the way that this all should be. We're fighting over memes and jokes. They're burning flags that we hold close. They think that war's only overseas. The way we're painted ain't been fair. So what, you don't know me? You got something to say, well I'm right here. Thank us for the freedom of speech. You like to claim I don't care, cause I ain't gonna bend no knee.
These colors don't run and I only warn you once. Buddy, don't tread on me. I won't forget the ones who died for our freedom, and I ain't gonna hand it back. No, no, no. If liberty and justice ain't enough to believe in, then get out of here and don't look back. Go, go, go. We love our home, and if you don't pack your bags, you're free to go. Don't let the big door hit you with a good Lord split you. Wave goodbye to Joe. We love our land. If you ain't fans, buddy will help you pack your bags. Don't let the big door hit you with a good Lord split you. Burn someone else's flag. If you look close, you'll see America. She don't look quite like she did. This ain't the country that our parents love, but I still hear her on the wind. We love our home, and if you don't pack your bags, you're free to go. Don't let the big door hit you with a good Lord split you. Wave goodbye to Joe. We love our land. If you ain't fans, buddy will help you pack your bags. Don't let the big door hit you with a good Lord split you. Burn someone else's flag.